Hello and welcome to another episode of the Expert to Authority show. This is a special edition that we are doing with some of our GTeX members, where we are raising awareness of some things that are affecting us on a day-to-day basis, and raise awareness of some topics that might not be directly business related, but they affect us as people. In return, they're going to affect our business. So we talked about running a business without challenges. Now we're actually talking about running a business while you are also a caregiver. Very different dynamic. Your time is all over the place. You don't only have to care about yourself or your closest family, but also there are other responsibilities. And so we wanted to raise awareness. And today with us, we have Rajini. Rajini, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
All right, Regini, before we get started, just give a quick introduction about you and your business for context, and then we can get going with you as a caregiver, and also what have you learned and what kind of things you can advise people to put in place as well.
Yeah, so my career was in teaching. I taught for over 30 years. And as I came towards the end, the last 10 years, I began to think I didn't want to retire, but how can I give back? I didn't want to keep on teaching children. I'd reached that end. And then more and more, I was working with younger colleagues, coaching them, mentoring them as they were taking on leadership responsibilities and taking on new roles. So I started a small business, actually started in lockdown, to help teachers in their career transitions, to help them, find their feet in new roles and leadership responsibilities without becoming overwhelmed. So that's the gist of what I do.
That's brilliant, and the reason, one of the reasons why we are here is because as part of this raising awareness campaign that we are doing every month on a different topic, we ask our members to contribute to an article, and then also we top up the article from with the interview, with the live interview on these topics. So you can find in the show notes and in the description already, you will be able to find the link of the article where there will be this video, and also there are also the tips that Rajini shared, but also other members that contributed to this collaborative article, which I want to mention. In fact, we have Amanda Murray as well. So shout out to Amanda, Rajini, which I mentioned, and then Claudia Romero. So these are the people that the members that contributed to the article. You will be able to see it by clicking on the link. Rajini, first of all, there are, being a caregiver is not something, is often something that doesn't come planned, right? It's just like you're kind of thrown into the deep end, someone that you love, someone that you care about. And, we got to do what we got to do for our families and the people that we love. How have you found that to create a balance, or a balance? I don't know if it knows that it's anything such a balance, but to run the business and also being a caregiver at the same time. What have you found that worked for you?
I think flexibility for me, and also, you think about work-life balance. I prefer to say work-life harmony, because sometimes that, like in an orchestra, sometimes there are more intense periods and then there's a resting period. Rather than trying to balance, I think there's that element of going with the flow. So flexibility is key. We're going to be having a little chat, but it's a complex issue, because different needs and different circumstances require different amounts of support, and different illnesses, people require different support. But what I found is that being flexible didn't come without a cost, because I wouldn't say I'm overly ambitious, but I had my dream. I wanted to do this, and I was going to spend this amount of time coming out from full-time teaching. I had that energy. This was going to happen, that was going to happen. But life doesn't always go that way. So there's that challenge of becoming flexible in terms of how you want your life to be, knowing that, yes, there are loved ones who need care. And so the flexibility, rather than you say, oh, I'm going to be flexible, actually, it's like everything in life, isn't it? It's a journey, it's progressive. And you have to find that peace within yourself that, okay, I might have to lay this aside for this time to focus on somebody else at the moment.
Yeah, I think sometimes it makes me think about first of all, what you said is very true, because I know some GTeX members, for example, talking about like the GTeX environment, that they might they will have to be full-time carer, and that was their thing. So they will have a business on the side, but their primary role is to be a full-time carer because that's what's required.
Yes.
Some people, they have a bigger support network, a smaller support network, as you mentioned. The, the the, the conditions of the person that you're caring for, that determines everything.
Mm.
And I love what you said about being flexible, and also, finding your peace and not beating yourself up, because there can be that fight, that internal fight. But I would love to do this, and I'm here, and at the same time, that's what's needed and required, so you will not do anything else. So there can be that internal fight. um if for people that are not able, that are still struggling with this internal fight, what would you what words would you give to them to help them find their peace, like you found yours?
Mm. I think no situation lasts forever. Situations change, and there are periods of intensity and there are periods of less intensity. I think it's just being aware that where you're at, it's not, it won't, it's not that that's how it's going to be forever. Things change, situations change. And the other thing I would say is realize that you can't do everything. You need support, and how that support manifests, you have to be thoughtful about it, because if you're caring for somebody, they might not want other people there, they might just want you. However, there is love in family, and you have to have those conversations where you say, actually, that we do need support here, I need support here. So
Hmm.
it's a combination of things. The situation doesn't last forever, but you also have to be proactive in recognizing what you can give, when you can give it, and knowing when you've got right timeout is needed. Is that
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, because it's almost like a cycle. You're given by being a caregiver, but at the same time, you need also to give yourself some self-care, because otherwise, that tank, when it's empty, is empty. So now you cannot even give in the same level if you don't also take care of yourself. What are some of the things that you found maybe like work for you to help you also being your best when you care, so to fill up your cup, or to give yourself that space? Some of the things that work for you, or that other people could even implement or apply.
so? Deal with the guilt. If say you can't do something and you want some space for yourself, there's no need to feel guilty. You're not neglecting somebody. It's getting all those sort of thoughts that we all have sometimes. Am I doing enough? Oh, I need to be there. Yeah, we do need to be there at times, but we don't necessarily have to be there all the time. So it's having that conversation with yourself that, and I don't want to use the word you deserve it, but you have a right and a responsibility to look after yourself. So you have that time that you need for yourself. So give yourself permission to have it without guilt. And then I think clear communication is so important. Um, have it sort of letting people know that right in a couple of weeks I've book this or I'm doing this. So
Yeah.
therefore, if something happens, somebody else will have to take. It's you're kind of living in the moment, because I mentioned to you this week I've taken my mum to 3 different medical appointments that I only found out about on Sunday. So the week was skewed. However, those things come, but next week is not going to be like that, and the week after is not going to be like that. So it's yeah, it's just that it's again, I guess it comes down to flexibility again, doesn't it? With
Yeah.
yourself, the clear communication, having difficult conversations if you have to, and just relaxing and giving yourself permission to take the time that you need. It's
Yeah, sorry, keep going.
in coaching, that analogy of in the airplane with the when the oxygen mask comes down, it's kind of cliche, but there's truth in it, isn't there?
There is definitely truth, because as I mentioned before, if your tank is empty, then, like, if you are the main support mechanism of someone else,
Mm.
and the main support network of someone else as a carer, then if you get out of the equation because you're not well, then they can't even be well, right? So there is the responsibility is a responsibility, as you mentioned, to take care of yourself. You mentioned about communication, and I have a question for you, because when things are going well, communication is easy. But when there is a moment of pressure, emotions are high, there is, at the end of the day, the life of someone at stake. There are so many things that don't allow an environment for an easy communication or simple communication. Things can escalate, things can get emotional. I've seen, for example, my uncles and my family and my parents deal with my grandfather when he died. He had Alzheimer. My uncle was the primary care. My my other uncle and my mom were doing turns to go at the house, help and support it. And it was just one. It was hard to see how the quick degeneration that he had, being like a very smart man, and he was teaching Latin at college, and until it was like 85, he could speak Latin fluently and
Wow.
read Latin fluently and teach it. And then few months later, he couldn't even remember the people around him. But he still could speak Latin, though. Well, that was fascinating. He could still speak Latin, but not remember the people around him. That was something funny there. But I saw how then the relationship started breaking down, and the communication started becoming really hard, in particular on those moments where there were important decisions to be made, or this moment of high stress. And how what piece of advice would you give in this kind of situations, talking about communication?
So like your was it your grandfather? Yeah.
Yeah, my grandfather. Yeah.
So say with my mum, in her situation at the moment, her life has become very, very small. So when you're having communication with her, you have to recognize that, and the memory thing, she can remember things from years back, which is classic, but not so much recent things. All of those things, it's communicating in someone else's sphere, their life, their world, because they're not going to, beyond their bubble. This is my experience, it's very difficult to have any form of communication. So with my mum, food is always a great topic. Okay. I'm telling you, food, this bread, that was lovely, cakes, and that is something we can talk about all the time. And another thing, we both have a common, maybe it's a gift, I don't know, family gift of sewing, and that side of things. So we can communicate there. But for example, with my sister, so it's just the two of us, um, what I've found is that, because sometimes we get a bit stressed, we want to do the right thing, but things are difficult. We can
Yeah.
speak to each other with a higher voice or whatever. And for me, I just feel it's just always taking a step back, knowing that there's love there. We want to do the best, and it's really not letting it get to an argument or anything, because it's not necessarily that we want to be arguing. It's just that there are heightened emotions, there are lots of things to do, and as you said, it's someone's life that you're supporting. So it's yeah, it's those two things in my situation really is, it's so vital for me to be able to communicate with my mum in a way that she can relate to, but also with my sister when we're really
Mm.
tense, stressed. It's like taking a step back.
This is gold. In particular, that made me reflect. I didn't think about it, but yes, when you are in a situation when your life becomes small, and small in the sense of restricted, there are less experiences that you're having. That's all you see, that's all you do, so it becomes less relatable to have conversations about other things, because now what you're capable to do and what you're able to do is much less. And finding that line of communication, finding, okay, what how can I get through, what could keep their conversation going, um, thinking about the things that we both love, thinking about the things that we have in common, that will keep that relationship alive. It doesn't just become transactional. Okay, I'm caring about you, and because that can become quite monotonous after a while, or that can becomes very stressful. But still, as you mentioned, love is there. And I
Mm.
think those kind of moments, they are the moments where love comes to the surface. So whether it's taking a step back to have a conversation with your sister or with other people involved, or having that, you mentioned, the line of communication with your mom or the person that is involved in anyone's case. Um, I found this interview very eye-opening, uh, because it's not something that I have experience with, and that's also why we do these interviews, because there is so much that people are going through while running their businesses that those topics needs to be talked about, and that's why we are doing this, the article and the interview. Do you have a final either piece of advice or a final comment before we wrap up for anyone that is a carer and wants to run a business, and they feel a bit stressed, or they're struggling, or they're kind of still find their food in there? What would you say to them?
So as I said, before, it's like different seasons. So at the moment, the season I'm in is more, I would say 50-50 maybe, that kind of thing. So with the business, I've worked a way of just focusing on certain key things. Longer term, I want to focus on other things, but at the moment, I can only do what I can do. And so therefore, to keep that, yes, the focus is small, but there is growth, and there is growth in me, and there is growth in what I know and what I can do. So although, you know, ultimately the big dream, it hasn't materialized, the steady growth, the little steps is giving me confidence. And then the other thing is, if you need help, ask for help, get help. It's just, it could be talking with your family about, as I said, other people coming in. So it's if you need it, reach out. Don't sit in silence, or it's too much to bear otherwise.
All right, Regini, thank you very much. This has been a great interview. Love what we shared, and definitely complimenting the article. So make sure you go on our website. You can see gtex.org.uk. You'll see there is an article called "The Challenges of a Caregiver Running a Business." That's the article, "The Challenges of a Caregiver Running a Business." You can find the link of the article as well in the show notes or in the comments, whether you're listening on a podcast or you're watching it on YouTube or other social media platform. Regini, thanks again. It's been a great pleasure having you here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Simone.
All right.